Good evening, everyone. Good evening, welcome. This brings back so many fond memories for me when I was mayor and city council in this great city of Piedmont. I see a lot of familiar faces, so nice to see you, and I hope we get a chance to speak with you later. I am judged now, Margaret Fujioka. Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, Madam City Administrator and Mayor, for the opportunity to make a few introductory remarks at this very important State of the City address. I was mayor from 2014 to 2016, a council member from 2008 to 2014, and a resident, still am, over 25 years, going on 30 years here in Piedmont. First, let me say that it is just absolutely wonderful to be back here in a different role, but wonderful to see all of you. And of course, the company of the mayor, the city council, city staff, and all of the residents who are here tonight. Thank you for being here. I am delighted that the mayor has continued the tradition I started when I was mayor to deliver a State of the City address. As I mentioned to her, I think it's so important that we have an open communication between the city council, the mayor, and the residents. After all, we are all public servants. We serve you, the constituents, the residents, and it's really important to know what is happening in the city, what the goals are for the future, what the accomplishments are of the past, and to give you an idea of what to expect for your city. I felt then and still feel now that it's so important as residents to be actively engaged in your city, to serve. I've met some of the volunteers in the city here tonight for the first time, and it's really important for all of you to stay engaged and to hold your council and your mayor accountable, really, for the work that is being done for the benefit of the city. Second, an engaged citizenry is a powerful citizenry, and it's important to serve your community and actively participate in any way that you can. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words. And I look forward to speaking with you after the program and to reconnect with some of you. So thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for tonight's Piedmont State of the City 2024. As we begin, I want to first thank our incredibly talented staff for all they've done to make this possible. As you might imagine, this room doesn't always function like this, so it takes quite a bit of effort to pull that off. As well as these are the same folks who work hard for you day in and day out, tirelessly to serve the city that we love. Second, I want to thank my colleagues who are here with me tonight, Vice Mayor Betsy Anderson, Councilmember Tom Ramsey, Councilmember Jen Long, and Councilmember Connie McCarthy, who couldn't be here tonight. I can't think of a better team of collaborators and leaders to come together to serve the city. I also want to thank my family for their love and support, without which my service wouldn't be possible. As you all settle in, I hope you had a chance to greet each other when you got here, because you represent so much of the past, the present, and the future of leadership in Piedmont. So take a good look around. You'll find former elected officials as well as current and former committee and commission members, and I'm confident some of you are yet to serve. Tonight is about celebrating Piedmont, not just for what it has been, but for what we're building here together. You're here because you care deeply about our city and its future, and that's what we're celebrating. I'm going to tell you about some of our accomplishments over the past years and the exciting projects that we have underway. But I'm also going to talk about the challenges we're facing as a city and as a community. Despite these challenges, I'm confident you're going to leave here excited about our leadership and the direction our city is moving. But first, I'd like you to pause and think back to your first memories of Piedmont. Whether you grew up here, came to raise your children here, or came here to enjoy a safe, supportive community to age in, I'd love you to think back on your first memories of Piedmont. What was it that made you first fall in love with the city? In my case, my partner Dan and I came here in 2003, and it was nice I could share this memory with Ani and Tunny because she was there. I had 2 small boys and the dream of a daughter who would be born here. For me, I wanted to give my children a slightly different version of the childhood that I had. My mom was a single working parent with 3 small kids. We were living in a multi-family apartment building. She married my stepfather, and they had 2 more children. My family dynamic seemed to be a moving target, and I craved stability. By 3rd grade, I was in my 4th school. So putting down roots for my kids was really important for me. So we bought a neglected house on a busy street that came with rats and asbestos, but not gutters, a working furnace, or a sewer line, or the foundation to keep the whole thing standing. But it came with the promise of a home in a neighborhood with good public schools, where we could know our neighbors, some of whom we're still friends with, who we knew before we moved here. It was more than we could afford, but it was more than enough, and that's what we fell in love with. So now it's your turn. This is where the audience participation starts. Piedmont is about community and connections, so don't worry, this isn't a competition. No one has to get up on stage. But I would ask you to just take a moment and turn to a neighbor. If the neighbor who is here is someone you came with, please find someone maybe you know less well. Decide if you're going to be the talker or the listener. The talkers, you're going to share what you love about Piedmont. You have 37 seconds, and then we're going to switch. For those of you who thought this was a public comment period where you could air your complaints, you missed that. That was last night. You'll know your time is up when you look around and everyone is really quietly looking at you. This is also the time if anyone here needs a seat, please join us. So when I say go, please share what you love about Piedmont with your neighbor. Go. So thank you for sharing that. We hope you learned something and made a new connection tonight. When we invited you, we asked you to share just one thing you love about Piedmont, and here's what you said. As you can see, community is important to us all, and that's a theme we're going to explore together. This really is a remarkable place. There is so much to love about our city. For many of us, it was love at first sight when we came here. From the majestic views of the San Francisco Bay Area to the architecture of our neighborhoods, Piedmont is beautiful. We have stunning, meticulously maintained parks and verdant, mature trees lining our streets. The city comes alive with color every spring, as it is right now. Our Public Works Department brings an unparalleled level of care, from the bulbs they plant every year to the nearly 9,000 trees they maintain in our public spaces. 400 canopy acres of urban forest would cost over $22 million to put in if we tried to replace them today. If not its beauty, maybe you fell for Piedmont's small town charm. This is a place where you can feel safe sending your 8-year-old child on a bike to shoot baskets at the elementary school down the street, where seniors pack nighttime dance classes at Veterans Hall, where you're likely to know your neighbors when you walk your dog around the block. Or maybe you came for the exceptional public services, such as top-ranked public school district, which strives to offer differentiated learning for all levels and abilities. Or the hundreds of programs offered by our rec department across the age spectrum. Or our planning and building staff who provide walk-in, hands-on help where permit applications are offered with a smile. Our police and fire departments that make Piedmont one of the safest cities in the region. There are few places where you can call 911 and have someone at your door in under 4 minutes. But you get that in Piedmont. Perhaps you came for our community, a place where neighbors generously offer their excess produce from their backyard fruit trees, or show up with home-cooked meals when another family is in crisis. Perhaps it's the culture of service, from the Scouts, the community church, our service crew, and others who harness our collective resources for the good of those less fortunate than ourselves. Or the extraordinary talent and generosity of volunteers who bring energy and vision to create incredible events like the 4th of July Parade, the Harvest Festival, Lights Up, or the newest Food Fest, whose founder is here with us today. Perhaps it was our unique small-town businesses, hyper-local, family-owned, and providing exceptional customer service found nowhere else. You already know our house, which was built in 1919 and needed everything. So you can imagine we're on a first-name basis with the employees at Ace Hardware. Not only because my son worked there and some of the little ladies loved him. It was one of his first jobs, and we're grateful for that. But also because they have as many employees working in their store often as they do customers. It's no surprise it's a top-producing store, and we're thrilled to wish Gary Braga and his son Sean a happy 50th anniversary for their business this year. We also have Chad Olcott and Laura Pochop's iconic Mulberry's Market. Raise your hand if you've been there today, if not twice this week. It's so much more, as you all know, than a place to buy a cup of coffee. It is a hub of our public life. The impact of this family extends so far beyond the four walls of their store, as you all know, to their generous support of almost every community event in our town. Or perhaps our newest Grand Avenue business owner, Ashley Stoltz of Project Glow, who choked up at our recent council meeting when she shared that opening her business here is a dream come true. And we all thought if she can make us look as glowing as she is, we would call that a miracle, so we're glad to embrace her dream. This is the Piedmont we all fell in love with. Beautiful, safe, and vibrant. There's so much to love here that at times it feels unreal, like something from a storybook. But as with every love story, blissful first impressions inevitably collide with reality. We don't live in a storybook, and we're not an island. As individuals, as a city, and as a community, we have to grapple with all of the complexities and challenges of life in the 21st century. On the international stage, multiple ongoing political and humanitarian crises are affecting us individually and in our community, as we struggle to figure out our role and how best to help. Regional crime waves spill across our borders. Locally, debates over the housing growth in our community and how to prioritize the use of our limited public spaces create fissures in our close-knit community. And yet the rising cost of living drives families and our own children out of the Bay Area, causing our schools to struggle with waning enrollment. Across the nation and here at home, young people are struggling with anxiety and depression at greater rates than ever before, while adults report an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. Climate change threatens the air we breathe, the water we drink, and even our beloved urban forest, as mature trees fall to drought and warming temperatures. Extreme weather brings greater risk of disasters from fires and floods. An increasingly complex array of state mandates and regulations and growing reliance on technology across all sectors adds new demands to the daily work of our local government. Yet in many ways, we're still operating in 20th century conditions. With fewer than 100 employees serving our community, the same staffing levels that we've had in place for decades, and no dedicated IT function within our administration. Much of our aging infrastructure, from streets to storm drains to public buildings, is long overdue for modernization and repair. When I served on the Budget Advisory and Financial Planning Commission, we were just beginning to talk about our backlog of deferred maintenance and millions in unfunded capital projects. Now, almost 10 years later, though we've made progress, our biggest projects are still in our future. Our police and fire stations, built many decades ago, don't meet the standards for essential services facilities and could compromise our ability to respond in a significant earthquake. Finally, being honest about our challenges also means facing the darker parts of our past. The Piedmont we know and love has not always aligned with the values that we live today. Yesterday marked 100 years since a 500-person mob and 1/3 of Piedmont's population at the time rioted at the home of Piedmont's first Black resident in an attempt to force him and his family to leave. A month later, Piedmont City Council unanimously voted to condemn Sidney and Irene Deering's home. We still carry that burden of history today. When you lay them out, these challenges can feel overwhelming. It can be hard to sometimes feel the love. Give me a hand if you feel like you felt that in the past week, and in the past month, or in the past year. Yeah, it's real, and it's affecting us every day. Yet with every challenge comes opportunity. Opportunity to become more resilient, more inclusive, more innovative. This is where our true work begins. Work that's not just about maintaining the status quo, but about advancing our city's legacy. And just as any great love deepens through hardship, our love for Piedmont can grow more powerful and meaningful as we work through these challenges together. I stand before you with unwavering confidence in Piedmont's future. We possess all the necessary ingredients, the vision, the leadership, and most importantly, the partnership with our most important resource, our incredible residents, each of you, to not only overcome these hurdles, but to thrive. We can be leaders in sustainability. We can model a vision of community safety that brings together the best of modern technology with strong police-community relationships, and where neighbors work together to ensure that we're ready to weather any disaster. We can nurture residents of all ages with high-quality recreation programming. We can build infrastructure that meets the needs not just of today, but for the next 100 years. We can do all these things in a responsible, fiscally sound manner, preparing not just for the next budget cycle, but for the next generation. And we can become a more welcoming and inclusive city, creating opportunities for more people of all backgrounds to experience the quality of life this amazing community offers. This vision isn't just a dream or a plan on paper. We're actively forging a path towards a sustainable, resilient, and vibrant future. So let's take a closer look at that. Despite Piedmont's small size, we punch above our weight as a regional leader in environmental policy. We were the first city in the East Bay to opt in to delivering a 100% renewable energy solution for our residents, paving a path now followed by more than half of the cities in Alameda County. We were one of the first cities in California to adopt REACH codes that apply to renovation projects in addition to new construction. And we continue to lead by example. Right now, we're building one of the first all-electric public pools in California, funded through a strategic partnership with Ava Energy. We're helping residents electrify their homes as well. We're helping homeowners offset the cost of adding heat pumps and upgrading their electric panels with up to $2,000 in rebates per project. And we're working on more ways to help. Over the next year, you'll be hearing more about our existing building electrification strategy, a plan we're developing to get Piedmont's buildings off carbon practically and equitably. And early next year, we will have 4 fast public EV chargers in our city center right outside our park. Meanwhile, we're deepening our investment in sustainability and stewardship of our public spaces. Our lush parks and urban forests don't just look beautiful, they're essential components of our city's health and well-being. Our public trees are collectively storing over 3,000 tons of carbon. Every year, they remove nearly 4 tons of air pollution from our skies and prevent over 1 million gallons of stormwater runoff. As the changing climate threatens our urban forest, we're not giving up. We're adapting, planning ahead, and reforesting our parks with new species that can thrive in the environment of tomorrow. We also support our residents to make improvements to their sustainable water-rise landscaping with free weekly compost and mulch giveaways. As wildfires become more frequent and destructive than ever, our fire department is working hard to prepare our community for this new normal. We're revamping our approach to training education on preparedness and wildfire mitigation. We held our first ever hands-on evacuation exercise in 2022, and we're planning another for this fall, and we hope you'll participate. With every project, we're making our public spaces not just functional, but safer, more sustainable, and accessible for all. We just completed 2 of the top 10 highest priority pedestrian safety projects in our Safer Street Plan, adding bulb outs and flashing beacons to 2 highly trafficked intersections on Oakland Avenue, and have similar improvements planned for 2 similar intersections on Grand Avenue for next year. We're also planning to make Piedmont safer to navigate to our aging population. We recently brought ADA access to the off-leash dog area at Dracaena Park, and we're adding 30 new ADA curb ramps to our sidewalks this summer. I'm proud to say that Piedmont is investing more in addressing our capital needs than ever before. Since 2015, through conservative budgeting and prioritization, we've added an additional $13 million in funding for capital projects, and we've doubled our funding for road and sidewalk repairs. We've now reached the 2/3 completion point on the construction of our new aquatics facility. Raise your hand if the architect behind that project, if that happens to be you. We're modernizing our police and fire dispatch center, the beating heart of our public safety response. Next year, we'll begin a master planning process for the eventual and necessary replacement of our aging public safety buildings. While the largest of these projects must be funded with voter-approved bond measures, most of these capital investments that we're making are now possible because of our prudent approach to managing our city's finances, one that looks to prepare not just for the next budget cycle, but for the next generation. We maintain a strong reserve, buffering our organization and services against threats from recession to natural disaster. We're one of the few cities that survived the pandemic and global recession without having to make cuts in staffing and service levels. We've recovered from our underfunded pension liabilities from 8 years ago because we regularly set aside funds so that we can deliver on the retirement promise we've made to our employees. When we make budget decisions, we look closely not just at today's needs, but we also look at the impact to our long-term financial projections. With every proposed new expense, we ask hard questions, not just whether we can afford it today, but if we take on this commitment, how will we maintain it in the future, and what won't we be able to afford tomorrow? We look at the trade-offs and look at the analysis that's involved. Maintaining this discipline has not always been easy. We've had to say no to many not just nice-to-haves over the years, but also what many would consider must-haves, including in-house information technology and the staffing required to manage it. Every member of our lean staff wears many hats. Piedmont's public servants continually find ways to do more with less, working in cramped spaces without the benefit of modern technologies that most of us consider essential for working efficiently and effectively. There was a time in the not-too-distant past when our tools and technologies were managed by landlines, yellow legal pads, an occasional spreadsheet, and the keen memories of our long-term employees. Most of you wouldn't run your businesses that way, and nor should we as a city. Starting to bring our IT infrastructure into the 21st century has been time-consuming and expensive. I want to be sure to acknowledge the leadership of former Mayor Margaret Fujioka for pushing us to make this a priority back in 2014. Recently, our hardworking staff have been able to add new digital services, building out a virtual city hall you can access 24 hours a day. In the past year, we've launched online permitting for building and planning applications and an online map of police incidents, providing new transparency into crime and safety. Looking ahead, we're upgrading our city website to make it easier for you to access city information services anytime, anywhere, from any device. We also use technology as a public safety force multiplier, enhancing the capabilities of our small staff. We've seen huge dividends from our 2013 implementation of the automated license plate reader system to support our police officers. Just last year, ALPRs led to 33 arrests, recovery of 37 stolen vehicles, and the interception of over 300 wanted vehicles that then fled our city. We now see cities across the region following our lead. We continue to expand these investments. We brought 5 new public safety cameras online last year and are adding 9 new license plate readers to our streets this summer. As important as this work is, we know that safe streets and accessible services are only one part of what makes a city thrive. Our incredible recreation department works day in and day out to support our families with preschool, after school, school break, summer programming that provides a critical lifeline for working parents. In the past year, we've deepened that support with new flexible schoolmates care options, expanding capacity during the first 3 critical weeks of school, and new extended care options for Camp Everything this summer. Our Sidekicks adaptive programming offers neurodiverse children the opportunity to build connections and thrive in recreational activities outside of school, just like their schoolmates and siblings do. And for many of our older youth, our recreation department offers their first opportunity at paid employment, where for some of them, for the first time, they actually have to do what they said they would do. Supporting families means supporting our schools, and I'm proud to say that we continue to invest in that partnership as well. The city provides crossing guards so that our kids can get to school safely. A dedicated juvenile officer supporting our students and our school district, and over $500,000 a year in-kind support from waste management to meeting broadcasts, so that school administrators can focus their time and resources on continuing to provide the best possible education for our students. City and district leadership work hand in hand as we explore new ways our agencies can continue to work together to support Piedmont families, like using state funding allocated to the city to renovate our middle school sports courts, a project that benefit our youth during school hours and all residents who play pickleball there on the weekends. We've also recently created a threat assessment and management team that brings school officials together with police and fire staff to proactively identify risks and make plans to address them. Our planning staff are working hard on policies and programs that support bringing more families to Piedmont. We've streamlined our zoning regulations and adopted objective design standards from multifamily properties to ease new development. Last summer, we began developing a plan to bring new housing, including affordable housing that accommodate families, to Moraga Canyon, which will create entry points for people of all income levels to be a part of this amazing community. Outside of school, Piedmont Recreation continues to expand ways to bring communities together, adding new events like the first Pop-Up Putt-Putt in the park. All right, we're going to say that 3 times together. Ready? And this past weekend's Play Like a Girl Plus, which drew combined over 1,000 athletes from across the region to enjoy our innovative, inclusive programming. The Recreation Department is also supporting our own needs as we age, offering a growing array of adult programming that keeps our residents active and connected throughout their lives. This wasn't always the case. In 2014, I worked on a survey about recreation programming. At the time, we couldn't even ask for feedback on our adult programming because we really didn't have any. Today, adults can choose between book clubs, film groups, knitting, yoga, and so much more. As we look towards our future, we aren't shying away from difficult conversations about race and inclusion. We're taking concrete steps to heal wounds, build bridges, and ensure that every member of our community feels valued and heard. 4 years ago, the Council unanimously adopted a resolution condemning all forms of racism and committing to examine our history, practices, and biases. We've taken that commitment seriously. As a white woman of privilege, I've seen my own journey evolve. My focus has been to educate myself, and I know I have much more work to do, and I welcome an opportunity to do that in collaboration with all of you. And as a city, we know that if we want to make strides in this area, we must first do our own work to provide our staff with the fundamental professional development that they need in order to lead their respective departments. As a country, we didn't get here overnight, and we know that we have more work to do. Our police department engaged outside experts to analyze our police call data, to understand the bias that may be present in calls for service that originate within our community. In some of the most difficult but necessary work we've ever undertaken as a city, we're facing our darkest chapter in our history head-on. In 2022, as a council, we committed to not only memorialize Sydney and Irene Deering at Triangle Park, near the home where they once lived, but to centering the Deering family in that process. I'm excited to report that we'll soon be sharing design concepts for this memorial, designed by globally renowned Berkeley-based artist and designer Walter Hood, in collaboration with Sydney and Irene Deering's descendants. As you can see, there is incredible work being done at City Hall and so much to be excited about. But here's the most important part. None of the progress I've outlined tonight would be possible without the partnership and generosity of this magnificent community, including every one of you here tonight. Our city's finances would not be in the strong position they're in today without the stewardship of the financial experts who serve on the Budget Advisory Committee, some of whom are also here tonight. They have continually pushed us to commit to fiscal discipline, founded in the belief that today's residents should bear the cost of providing city services without passing on the burden to future residents, including our own children. Your generosity at the ballot box moves us forward as well. Your support of Measure UU is what made our community aquatics facility possible. This spring's passage of Measure F allowed us to maintain our core city services and increase our police dispatch staffing for the first time since 1978. The tireless work of the Piedmont Beautification Foundation and Piedmont Recreation Facilities Organization and many other generous groups and individual donors has allowed us to deliver public facilities worthy of this community when public resources were inadequate. From Hampton Field to Corey Reach Tennis Center to the Highland Guilford Steps, and now our new community pool. Likewise, our schools benefit every year from the millions of dollars gifted by families to the Piedmont Education Foundation in support of our teachers and district staff to maintain our top-ranked public schools. We owe our new wealth of adult programming to many community volunteers who step up as organizers and leaders. There are too many to name, but when you think of these programs, you can picture the faces behind them, including Walking on Wednesdays, book clubs, movie nights, guitar lessons, pickleball, and so much more. Our youth also volunteer as the superheroes that make our Sidekicks adaptive programming possible. When we struggled to bring ADA access to Dracaena Park while maintaining the rustic nature of the environment, it was our Park Commission who came up with a just right design. When capacity constraints forced us to turn families away from after-school care, our recreation commissioners brainstormed another way. When we worked to prioritize the bold steps in environmental and housing policy, local resident advocates supported us and pushed us to do more. As we strive to become a more diverse, inclusive, and welcoming community once again, it's our residents who lead the way. Most of us had never heard of Sidney Deering before Megan Bennett surfaced his story. Long-standing community groups like the Black Youth Family Collective, Piedmont Jewish Families, Piedmont Asian American Club, Piedmont Racial Equity Campaign, and Piedmont Anti-Racism and Diversity Committee have been leading by examples and showing us where opportunities and gaps exist and driving us to do better. Day-to-day, talented and forward-thinking residents, such as yourselves, shape our city's work on all levels, from operations to funding to policy advocacy. And that's why, as we look towards our future, we're investing in new ways to partner with you. You can find all the information on different ways to volunteer, engage, and stay informed about what's happening at City Hall at our new Engage Hub, a new website that brings all these opportunities together in a single place. We have cards with more information at the door and encourage you to take one on your way out. As we think about real love, enduring love, it means evolving together. And I know that together we can build a future for Piedmont that retains everything we first fell in love with while making it better. So please stay engaged, fill out surveys, volunteer. Those of you who raised your hands, we've been taking your names down. Apply to serve on a board or commission. Run for office. I'll be keeping your seat warm in December, and after that, it's all yours. Because we need you. You are Piedmont's superpower. Thank you for your trust, your passion, and your dedication to Piedmont. It's been an incredible privilege to serve you in this community as a council member for the past 8 years. When I ran for office, I told you that I would make this job my top priority, and I've done that. Yet while doing so, sometimes it feels like I haven't worked nearly as hard as half of the people I see in this room. I'm humbled by your talents, your generosity, and your love for this community. Let's continue to work together, to dream together, and to love this beautiful city as we all have. Thank you so much.